The rain hadn't started falling yet, but you could tell by the sky over Southridge that a storm wasn't far off. In our quiet little two-bedroom home, Hailey was in the kitchen, pouring herself a glass of red wine. Her hand shook just a bit as she gripped the stem. She kept staring up at the clock. Only 33 minutes left before I'd be walking through the door, me, her husband of 6 years, without the slightest clue about what she was about to hit me with. She wasn't dressed like her usual self, gone were the yoga pants and baggy hoodie. Instead, she had on this tight, sleeveless green top that hugged her figure. Her makeup wasn't loud, but it was noticeable. She didn't dress like that to attract me. That wasn't the point. She wanted to throw me off balance, make me question things. She had already convinced herself she needed this, that it would somehow make her feel stronger. Her friend Jenna, the bold and blunt type, had been whispering in her ear for months. "Hailey, you've forgotten what it feels like to be wanted. Marriage only feels like a cage if you let it. Believe me, I've been through it." That voice kept echoing in Hailey's head. Jenna always said that a little spark from someone new could bring your spirit back to life. At first, Hailey had laughed it off, but over time, those ideas started to settle in. Especially on the nights I came home worn out, dropped onto the couch, and barely said 2 words to her. Was that fair? Probably not. But fairness didn't seem to be what she was after anymore. She was chasing something else, some kind of attention or validation. She planned this night with precision. Lasagna, my favorite, was still cooking in the oven. There was a bottle of fancy Italian wine sitting chilled in a silver bucket on the table. She wanted everything to feel comfortable, familiar, just long enough to let her drop the hammer. Her phone buzzed. A message from Jenna. "Tonight's the night. Be the spark, not the ashes. He'll either give in, or fall apart." Hailey stared at that message. Deep down, something in her stirred, a flicker of guilt, maybe. But she pushed it aside with another sip of wine. She told herself this was for her. Just her. At 7:05, I walked through the front door. My boots hit the floor with a heavy thud. I was soaked from a light rain that had started on the way home. My work bag was slung over my shoulder. My eyes caught the table setup and lit up. Wow. I stood there for a second. "Date night?" I asked. Hailey gave me a tight little smile. "Something like that," she said. She handed me a glass of wine. I took it with a nod, but gave her a longer look. "You all right?" "I will be," she answered, motioning for me to sit. "Let's eat first." We ate mostly in silence. The lasagna tasted great. But the air between us felt thick. Tense. Finally, she put her fork down and let out a breath. "Aaron, we need to talk." I tensed up. "What's going on?" "I need something," she said, trying to steady her voice. "Not from you exactly, just from life. From myself." I blinked. "Okay." "I've felt invisible," she continued. "Not unloved, but like I've faded into the background. Jenna says," she started, but I cut her off with a raised eyebrow. "Jenna says." "Hailey, that woman thinks Tinder is therapy." She reminded me that life's short, Hailey pushed on, brushing past my comment. "So I've made a decision. Just for a little while. A couple of months maybe. I want to try something new." I leaned back, narrowing my eyes. "What exactly do you mean by new?" Her throat tightened. "I want to date other people." My wine glass froze halfway to my mouth. "Are you saying you want a divorce?" "No," she said quickly. "I still want to be married. Just, openly. For now." For a moment, I didn't say a word. No yelling. No slamming things. Just silence. Then I gave a slow nod. "So, you're asking me to be okay with you being unfaithful?" I asked quietly. She flinched. It's not about that. Please don't twist it. I set my glass down carefully. Then let's call it what it really is. Her voice dropped. I need this for me. I stood up. Not angry, but there was something cold in how I moved. I'll sleep in the guest room tonight. Wait, she said, reaching out. You're not even going to talk about it. What's left to say? You've already made up your mind. I thought maybe you'd, she hesitated. What? Compete? I said, with a bitter smile. You want chaos? Don't expect me to stand still in the middle of it. Without another word, I walked down the hallway. The door shut quietly behind me. She stayed there, alone, holding her wine glass, heart racing. Too thrown off by my calm reaction to understand what she'd just done. And me? I didn't yell. Didn't cry. But something inside me cracked. And something else, colder, began to take its place. Hailey didn't sleep that night. She stayed in our bed alone. Just like I said, I moved into the guest room. She thought she'd feel free. Liberated. Maybe even excited. Instead, it felt like the air got heavier, like it was pressing down on her. But by morning, the guilt was gone. Pushed deep down, buried under a rush of adrenaline and another one of Jenna's late-night texts. He didn't blow up. That's good. That means he'll stew for a while and come crawling back when he realizes you've still got it. Those words stuck in her head. She smiled in the mirror, touching up her lipstick. She wanted to believe Jenna was right. This wasn't cheating, she told herself. It was just a little detour. Just a woman trying to feel alive again. At work, everything looked brighter. The colors. The people. The energy. She pulled out a dress she hadn't worn in years. And before lunch, the whispers started. That's when Miles texted her, a quiet consultant with kind eyes and a calm, thoughtful way about him. You looked amazing in the hallway this morning. Hailey hesitated over her phone. A smiley face. A polite thank you. Something more. She went bold. Maybe I dress up for you now. He texted back right away. I'll take that as an invitation. Things escalated quickly after that. Drinks the next night. Then the night after that. And before she could catch her breath, she was lying to me, and to herself. Miles said all the right things. Noticed her perfume. Told her she was special. She started laughing more than she had in years. Meanwhile, I kept my distance. No shouting. No begging. I just watched. Quietly. Carefully. I knew how to read patterns, I'm a contractor. That's what I do. And I started spotting the changes. The new passwords. The way she hit her phone. The longer showers. The way she jumped every time the doorbell rang or her phone lit up. Hailey thought my silence meant I was weak. But I wasn't sitting around just stewing in it. While Hailey was busy running around, I was working on something of my own, something way more dangerous than just blowing up in a fight. I was building a response. One afternoon, she came home earlier than usual and found me out in the garage. I was hunched over a box, fiddling with a little setup, wires, a screen, some electronics, but I slid it aside quick when I saw her standing there. She gave me this weird smile, trying to sound casual. Still working late out here? I just grunted. Helps clear my head. Didn't even look up at her. But what really got to her wasn't anger or yelling. It was the quiet. The calm. That shook her more than anything else. She turned to go, but stopped at the door. You know this isn't forever, right? Her voice was soft, almost pleading. I'm not trying to destroy us. That's when I looked up. Just for a second. You already did. She didn't answer. Just slipped inside without another word. Days went by. Then weeks. Hailey kept sneaking off with Miles like nothing had changed. Once, they met in the office parking lot. Another time, she told me later, it was in the back seat of his car during a thunderstorm. She felt wild. Alive. Like she'd tapped into something she hadn't felt in years. But that rush came with shadows. People started noticing. Her coworker Brooke, barely knew her, suddenly stopped saying hello in the hallway. One morning, Hailey found a sticky note on her desk. Just said, "Be careful who's watching." She tried to brush it off. Until Jenna called her, completely out of breath. "I think something's going on," she said. "I got this weird call. Someone's looking into us." Hailey blinked. "Looking into what?" "Into everything we've been doing," Jenna said. "And someone's been talking to HR." Her stomach dropped. "You think it's Gavin? You told me he was calm, right?" Jenna said. "That's exactly who you should be afraid of." That night, Hailey checked her laptop. A new folder sat on the desktop. Just labeled Hailey Personal. She opened it. Her eyes widened. Screenshots. Message logs. GPS pings. There was even a spreadsheet titled encounters_confirmed.xlsx. She gasped. Her breath caught in her throat. This wasn't just snooping. It was organized. Thorough. Cold. She panicked and deleted the folder immediately. But it was too late. She knew what it meant. I had known. Everything. At 3:20 a.m., she tiptoed down the hall and knocked on the guest room door. "Gavin," she whispered. No answer. She pushed the door open. The bed was still made. I was gone. My truck wasn't in the driveway, either. No clothes missing. Just, gone. She stood there in the hallway, clutching her phone. Her chest tightening. Dread crawling up her spine like a slow flame. She had lit the match. And I'd walked into the night with a full can of gasoline. Hailey didn't hear from me for 2 whole days. No texts. No calls. No receipts left on the counter. Just silence. The house felt bigger than usual. Too quiet. She barely slept. And when she did, it was shallow. Uneasy. She kept telling herself I'd come back. I always did before. I was a man of habit. Routine. But something was different now. On the 4th day, a letter showed up. Hand-delivered. No stamp. No return address. She opened it at the kitchen counter. Her hands shaking. One sheet of paper. Neatly typed. Hailey. I won't stand in your way. But understand this, freedom's never free. Watch carefully now. Gavin. She read it again. Then again. Trying to make sense of it. What did it mean? That morning, Jenna didn't answer her texts. Neither did Miles. Her fingers fumbled over the phone. Checked social media. Nothing. Then her phone rang. Unknown number. She hesitated. Hello. Mrs. Dalton. A low, serious voice. Yes. This is Officer Reynolds with Southridge PD. We received a report involving your vehicle. She frowned. My car. It's in the garage. No, ma'am. I'm referring to your husband's truck. It was found abandoned in Hillside Creek, several miles out. We believe it was dumped intentionally. Her knees almost gave out. Is he okay? He's not missing, ma'am. In fact, we spoke with him yesterday. He asked us to inform you that all assets connected to your name and your marital estate are being reassigned. You'll also be receiving a formal protection order. Her heart dropped. Wait, protection order. I'm not at liberty to go into details, ma'am. You'll need to speak with your attorney. By 4 p.m., the story had already spread like wildfire. Her name. Her face. Leaked footage. It started with a file shared anonymously on the company's Slack channel. Meant for internal use only. But someone forwarded it. Just a short clip. A dim room. Her whispering voice. Her laughter. A man's voice. Miles's. Her bed. The one we used to share. Didn't show much, but didn't have to. Her voice gave it all away. The tone. The betrayal. The caption on the leaked file. Some vows break themselves. But some break others first. By the time Hailey got a hold of Jenna, it was already too late. They met that night in an empty parking lot behind a liquor store. Jenna looked like a ghost. Her usual fire was gone. He did it, she said in a hushed voice. Gavin's not just letting it go. He's burning everything down. What do you mean? He hired someone, Jenna said. Maybe more than one. My landlord got an email. A file. Me and Travis. Me and Cole. Stuff I didn't even know was recorded. Hailey's voice cracked. I found files on my laptop. He's been tracking me. 4 weeks. And leaking it. In pieces. I just got suspended. Hailey stared into the dark. You told me this wouldn't hurt anyone. Jenna's voice was flat. I said it'd be fun. You assumed that meant harmless. That's not the same thing. You said men always come back. They love strong women, you said. Jenna laughed bitterly. Yeah. I was wrong. Gavin's not like the others. The next day, Hailey was called into the boardroom. 4 people were waiting. HR to legal. Some guy she didn't recognize, probably security. She turned down the coffee. Then they slid a thick file across the table. Full of screenshots. Timestamps. Office locations. Messages with Miles. Chats with Jenna. Her digital calendar. Cross-referenced with company badge scans. We believe this reflects a misuse of resources, a conflict of interest, and violations of our ethics policy, the HR director said, expression like stone. Hailey whispered, how did you even get all this? No one answered. Then the security guy cleared his throat. We also received audio recordings. From a third party. Gavin? She asked, her voice barely a whisper. Silence. They didn't fire her on the spot. Said it was under review. But she knew what that meant. She walked out of there shaking. Shame pressing down on her like a ton of bricks. When she got home, she stuck her key in the lock, only to find it didn't turn. The locks had been changed. All her stuff. Already boxed up, stacked neatly on the porch. And taped to one of the boxes was a note. You lit the match. I simply watched it burn. Welcome to the freedom you wanted. She dropped to her knees right there on the welcome mat. Surrounded by everything that used to be hers. Gavin wasn't just cold now, he was deliberate. And it finally hit her. Revenge doesn't always come crashing in with yelling or doors slamming. Sometimes, it's quiet. Sometimes, it just takes notes. She'd never felt cold like that before. Not even in the dead of winter. This wasn't the kind that touches your skin, it settled in her chest, carved out her gut, and replaced her pride with something hollow. Those boxes weren't just full of things. They were pieces of a life Gavin had taken apart, piece by piece, without ever raising his voice. She hauled them over to Jenna's apartment. Jenna didn't say much while Hailey paced, too worked up to sit still. You talked to Miles? She finally asked. Jenna didn't look up. His wife kicked him out. Hailey froze. He was married. He told me they were separated. Jenna finally met her eyes. Yeah. That's what they all say when they want something they're not supposed to have. Hailey's stomach turned. In just a few days, her reputation wasn't just bruised, it was in tatters. Flirty texts, shared screenshots, and whispers were all over social media. Anonymous accounts were pushing it out like wildfire. Gavin never posted a thing. Never said a word. He didn't have to. She cheated and still wants sympathy. Imagine torching your marriage and acting like the victim. How does it feel to lose a man you didn't think was worth keeping? She tried defending herself once, filmed a short video. Got 2 minutes in before the comments drowned her. Gavin didn't yell. He didn't need to. He let the silence carry the weight. Then the legal papers showed up. Divorce. Rushed through. His lawyer, Sienna Prescott, was ice in heels, sharp, professional, and stone-faced. "You're entitled to nothing," she said calmly across the table. "No house. No car. No support. We have proof. Witnesses. Timelines. And most importantly, intent." Hailey's voice cracked. "But we were still married. He never said to stop." Sienna barely blinked. "He gave you the rope. You tied the knot." The hearing didn't last long. The judge barely looked her way. Gavin didn't speak. The files did all the talking, texts, hotel receipts, security cam stills. And then he stood. Calm. Still. "My wife didn't just cheat. She chose to abandon the life we built. She wanted freedom. I gave it to her. What she gave me was clarity. No anger. Just finality." Hailey looked at him one last time. He didn't flinch. Didn't soften. It would have hurt less if he'd yelled. That night, she checked into a motel. Her phone buzzed. "Jenna. You okay?" No. She wasn't. She'd lost her husband. Her home. Her job. Her name. And deep down, a bitter part of her still blamed Jenna. She typed back. "You said this would feel powerful. That men come crawling back. Mine didn't." He torched the whole bridge. No reply. Jenna had her own mess now. Rumor was her husband was filing for full custody. Travis, the work fling, had already skipped town. Every man they'd tangled with had blown up like they were wired for disaster. Hailey couldn't sleep. She kept rereading Gavin's last note. "You lit the match. I simply watched it burn." It looped in her mind like a curse. She tried to drink it away, but that didn't work either. What stung the most? Gavin never gloated. Never texted. Never rubbed it in. He didn't need to. He'd already walked away with everything. But revenge doesn't just echo. Sometimes, even the one who wins leaves behind a door cracked open. She lay in that dingy motel, watching the ceiling light flicker, shadows dancing like ghosts. Each passing day blurred into the next, rejection emails, side eyes in stores, people whispering behind her back. She wasn't Hailey anymore. She was that woman. The warning sign. The social media sideshow. And Gavin? He'd disappeared. Word was he moved out of town. Started a business. Maybe he was dating again. She didn't want to believe it. Couldn't. Some tiny, desperate piece of her still imagined there might be a sliver of him left that cared. That maybe, just maybe, the wall he built still had a crack in it. But real life doesn't wait around for fantasies. 3 months later, Hailey sat in a small office chair across from a dental office manager. "I'm going to be honest with you, Hailey," the woman said gently. "We Googled you." Hailey nodded. Of course they did. I don't believe everything I read, the woman continued, but, a few of your past employers flagged some concerns during our background checks. Hailey forced a smile. Thank you for your time. Broke. Alone. Unraveling. She found herself walking past the old neighborhood. The house had been sold. Looked fresh. New paint. Trimmed hedges. It didn't look like hers anymore. It wasn't the house she came for anyway. It was closure. But Gavin never gave her that. No rage. No tears. No drunk texts. Just, a door shutting for good. And somehow, that was worse. One rainy night, she wandered into a bookstore. Some speaker was talking about rebuilding after loss. She slid into the back row, soaked and invisible. The speech wasn't warm. Wasn't kind. But it landed. You can lose everything and still survive. But if you don't take ownership of your choices, you'll keep setting every bridge on fire. Accountability isn't punishment. It's the first step forward. Something cracked inside her. The next morning, she wrote a letter. Not to be forgiven. Not to win him back. Just to say what needed to be said. I confused attention for love. I listened to someone who glorified chaos and called it freedom. But you didn't break me. I did that myself. And somehow, even in your cold, careful revenge, you showed me more grace than I ever earned. I don't expect a reply. I just wanted to say thanks. Thanks for walking away instead of throwing me to the wolves. For letting me fall without finishing the job. For proving that silence can sometimes be the loudest answer. Hailey. She sent the letter to his business address. No return, no expectations. Just closure. Weeks went by. No word. Then one evening, while volunteering at a shelter for women recovering from domestic abuse, as part of her court-ordered restitution, she stepped outside to grab coffee from a nearby diner. A pickup truck pulled in. The same make and model. Same dent on the bumper. Hailey froze. Gavin climbed out. Wearing those same worn boots. No anger. No chill. Just, still. Hey, Hailey, he said, like no war had ever happened. Her throat tightened. What are you doing here? I build things, he said with a small laugh. They're adding a new wing to the shelter. They called me. Of course they did. He hesitated, then added, I got your letter. Hailey swallowed. I didn't expect you to write back. I didn't plan to. But I needed to say something. She waited. You were right, he said finally. I didn't fight, not because I didn't care, but because if I did, I wouldn't have stopped. And I didn't want to become someone worse just to get even. Hailey blinked back tears. You already got even. He gave a half smile. I didn't destroy you, Hailey. I just made you look in the mirror. A long silence stretched between them. Are you happy now? She asked. He looked up at the shelter's new frame, the scaffolding still in place. I'm healing, he said. That's better than happy. She nodded. Me too. They stood in the drizzle a little longer, two people who'd set each other on fire and somehow made it out of the smoke. Scarred. But breathing. That's where the story ends. If it spoke to you, drop your thoughts in the comments. And hey, if you want more stories like this, hit subscribe. There's another one waiting for you right here on the screen. Thanks for sticking around. I'll see you there.